Hey, Yousef, how you doing, mate?
Good man, how are you?
Not too bad. Let's jump straight in. Why don't you tell people your story, just how you got OP, how it all happened for you.
Sure, yeah. So, yeah, a while ago now. So I first felt my OP, which I can imagine it had already started, but I hadn't yet comprehended what I had. But I played a game of football in December of 23, just before Christmas, like a week before Christmas. I played a game of football, soccer, whatever you want to call it. And afterwards, I felt excruciating pain. Like I know on your website you talk about stage one, stage two, stage three. I felt like I went straight to stage three. I felt excruciating soreness in all of my pubic area and my adductors. Like soreness, like if you go and do squats and you haven't done squats for 3 years and you go and do squats, like how your glutes and hamstrings will feel the next day. That's I felt that excruciating soreness in a way I'd never felt before, like all across my pubic bone and my adductors. So I rested for like a good 2 weeks. Again, not really at this point, like not really comprehending what I have, what's going on. Again, it was a feeling I'd never felt before. And I rested for a while, tried to go back to training. Like there were some things that I could kind of get away with. So just for context for anyone watching, my main thing is BJJ, like jujitsu, and that's what I was training the most. I mean, I was also playing a lot of soccer, which contributed obviously to my OP. But I continued to train jujitsu, but I would work around kind of the injury, whereas things like running, soccer, a lot of that stuff I put on pause completely because I just couldn't do. And I was sort of kind of ignoring the injury, working around it, and then eventually, I sort of my journey was that I did an ultrasound because the GP that I went to seemed to think I had a hernia. So he did an ultrasound. He told me, yes, you do have a hernia. The ultrasound confirmed that. So then for a while, I was convinced I had a hernia, and I was kind of just waiting to have surgery. And then someone told me to get a second opinion and to get an MRI. I went and got the MRI, and then the MRI said torn adductor, and then right at the end said something about acute on chronic osteitis pubis, and this was like 2 months. I reread that diagnosis a while after having the MRI, and I was just focusing on the adductor initially, and then the diagnosis said acute on chronic osteitis pubis. And the reason I focused on that a while later is it also said that I had very few intact fibers in my pubic region, which all the doctors that I talked about, they only focused on the torn adductor. No one really focused on that part. And I always found it very strange. Like this thing said I have very few intact fibers. Like that cannot be good. Yet none of them focused on that part. They all focused
Because
on
we
the part.
don't know what that means. Like, so really quickly. So you get these scan results, right? So I'm not a doctor, not a medically trained person, right? So you've not been taught to read scans in detail. So basically you get a report, someone sends me a report, and osteitis pubis, like, torn adductor, like the big words, the big things. It's like, okay, that's what you're dealing with, right? And then you have these like radiologists write these things, right? And it's like, what the fuck does that what the hell does that mean? Like, like very few intact fibers. Like, what are you talking? Are you talking about like thick fiber? Are you talking about like what layer of fibers are you talking about? So
Yeah,
my understanding of that now is when they say very few intact fibers, you like immediately my thought would be like the tight fibers are frayed, they're torn, right? Like how else would you interpret that? So no, that's not what it means. What it means is that it's like, oh, they're misshapen. So when they look at it, they're all there, right? But they're misshapen. They're not intact. They are compromised. But to what degree are they compromised? And what does that mean? And how does that affect function? No, useless. Like, is there like, like you would think, oh, okay, very few intact fibers. This results, and this is something that you see with people with OP, this result keeps coming up. You know what would be really useful? If we did a study where we, I don't know, biopsied these people with their intact fibers and to see how they respond in, I don't know, lab settings and stuff, and then to try to, I don't know, extrapolate some sort of meaning to this that would be useful in recovery, being like, oh, this fiber responds very similar to how an Achilles tendinopathy fiber responds. So therefore, we should apply. No, none of that. None of that useful. Like, it's just this weird siloed, like medicine is this weird siloed thing. Yeah, sorry. It's just like when you say that, it's funny. That's the same thing that goes through my head when I read these reports, which is like,
yeah.
great. What does that mean? And then you like,
Yeah,
like sometimes
exactly.
like when I first started doing this, I would call this, I'd be like, hey, can you give me the specialist's email address, right? And I'd be like, hey, I'm dealing with so and so's rehab. I'm from Australia. We don't really use this term. Can you tell me what the operational like what this operationally should mean? So I'd ask very specific questions of the specialist. So I'd be like, hey, does this indicate that we should not be loading the tendon within, the next 8 to 12 weeks? Like, give me a piece of data that I can use to help this person's rehab. So it's like, hey, if you tell me you shouldn't do that, then no Copenhagen's for the next 3 months, right? You're a specialist. You do this all day, every day. Like
Yeah,
nothing. You can never get a useful answer out of these people. Like, just like give me a I'm not even telling me like 6 weeks. Like, give me like 2 to 3 month time frame. Is it appropriate in the next 2 to 3 months that we load the tendon aggressively? Like if they'll give you an answer, like they'll eventually email you back. Keep annoying them. Nothing, no substantial information.
yeah, yeah.
It's just like what do you do? What is your job? Like why is this useful? Like just like I would think
Yeah.
someone could tell me within 2 to 3 month time frame whether this is an appropriate. No, nothing. Just and yeah, so yeah, what you're feeling in your stomach when you read that shit is what I would feel when I read that stuff. Sorry, go on.
Yeah, man. So eventually, obviously, that's what kind of made me eventually be like, this osteitis pubis thing that is mentioned at the end. Let me look into this. And then I looked into it, and I started reading symptoms online, and I went to like reading what people have written on Reddit and different forums. And this was the first time I'd been like, okay, this sounds like what I have, like pubic bone pain, and that's the first time I'd started like kind of starting to comprehend my symptoms. And then that's what I stumbled across your YouTube videos, stumbled across your program, delved into the website, and then it kind of went from there.
So, and let me just summarize that for everyone here. So, incredibly common for people with OP to also have a hernia. Incredibly common things, usually a sports hernia or an inguinal hernia. But yeah, anyone watching this, incredibly common to happen through there. Also, you want to understand is that doctors are going to go hernia, pain in pubic bone, pain in adductors. Hernia must be causing pain in pubic bone and adductors. That's something you want to understand from the outset. Anyone watching this is that is a correlation. It's not a causation. You're assuming people, the way it will be presented to you by a doctor is that tear is directly causing the pain that you're experiencing when it could be, or it very likely might not be sort of things. And that pain is actually being caused by your ductus firing too much because your core is not stabilizing well enough, right? And this is very
Yeah,
broad terms that I'm explaining here, but like, oh, and your core's not stabilizing very well. And then again, people would read that and go, oh, because I have a hole in my core, right? Because I have hernia. And then it'd be like, yeah, no, lots of people walking around right now don't know they have a hernia and they're functioning just fine. They did something a bit stupid, a bit too quick and stuff like that. It's not really how the body works. So your core might not be functioning well because you just don't know how to use it because you've only ever focused on making it strong instead of actually learning how to develop the skill with it, which is something else people always come to me. My core is weak. It's like, no, no one's core is weak unless you've been lying in bed all day, like doing nothing sort of things. Your core's not weak. I'm sure you've done planks. I'm sure you've done things. It's plenty strong. You just don't use it well. So it's like, oh,
yeah,
that pain, that dysfunction in your adductors could be coming because you have a hernia, or it could be coming because your core doesn't function well. Your core may not be functioning well because you have a hernia, or it may also not be functioning well because you just don't know how to use it properly. But it's these black and white things. So, like what Yousef's describing is what I literally go through this conversation with people every single time I meet them the first time, which is going, oh, you have the collection of these symptoms that everyone with OP has to some degree. It's slightly different flavors, but it's always an ice cream kind of thing. And then it's just like, oh, and then what does this stuff mean? And then people will be making these assumptions without realizing it. I have a hernia, therefore my core doesn't work, therefore I cannot get better unless I get a surgery. When it's like, oh, no, 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 that's not like, did you get the surgery?
no,
Yeah.
and this is the thing. So they confirmed that I had a hernia. I can't remember how many they said, like a certain amount of centimeters.
Mhm.
But ever since I did the MRI and I started focusing on OP and stuff, I'd never even thought about the hernia thing. Never thought about having the surgery. Never, and I don't feel any like effects from it right now. So I
And
think for me, I just addressed OP and that solved everything.
and even when you say, and so people watching this, like, and we'll get back to Yusuf's story in a second, but like when he says he's focused on OP, it's not really what you did. You just focused on getting really strong and really stable and improving how you functioned and stuff like that. And then your OP just stopped bothering you and your hernia stopped bothering you and all those things. And
Yeah,
all that I did with Yusuf was just teach him how to move really well and make him stable and functional and stuff like that. And then his OP. So even OP is like people like I'll meet with people and they'll fixate on this OP and this symptom, and I'll just be like, Oh, cool. If you keep focusing on the symptom, all you're going to get is more symptoms. You'll keep noticing more symptoms, more things will keep going wrong. So it's just like, cool. Now that we know that you have this pelvic instability, let's measure that instability, right? Like, let me lift your leg up. Look how your pelvis is really unstable. Look at how things. Cool. Let's fix that. Let's fix that instability. Let's fix what you're doing badly because you can fix that. Whilst if there's a hole in your stomach, the only person who can fix that is a man with a scalpel and a knife, kind of thing, through there. And that's scary. It has lots of side effects. Let's just fix your bad movement and let's see what the effect of that is. And no secret, the effect of that is usually you stop feeling pain and you feel great, but you stop driving your car really badly. In the same way, it's just like, cool, if you keep driving your car into a wall, well, you're probably going to feel pretty crap every time you're in the car, right? So, like, maybe
Yeah,
stop driving into the wall, learn how to stop driving the wall. And then if the car's still not running well, then take it to the mechanic and let it fix it. But, like, he can fix it. And if you drive into the wall again, it's just going to be crap again, kind of thing.
yeah, exactly the same story.
But yeah, sorry. Go on with your story. So you started, you found me, you did a bit of Googling and stuff, kind of things.
Yeah.
When you got started to get into the exercise and into the program and stuff like that, what was going through your head? How did you find that picking it up? How did you find going through that beginning process?
Yeah, I mean, initially when you started explaining things to me, it felt right. Like I felt like I was like, okay, this sounds like what I need. I mean, obviously I was learning a lot and I was learning about fashion and stuff, but the more I learned about it, the more it sounded right. And I was so weak when we started off. Like I remember doing the very one of the very first exercises you ask, which is like a variation, the very first variation of the bird dog where you sat on your knees. And I was so weak. And I remember thinking like, how am I gonna how am I gonna fix this? But just one by one, you start making these little progressions, little goals. And the, for me, like I think a month or maybe two into it, that's when I started feeling. I think no, it was around week six. Around week six, really started feeling little pains that I had on a day-to-day basis with little movements, stuff like I don't know, putting on trousers or turning around in bed. I started noticing the pain decreasing with these things. Um, and it was just about consistency, about staying on it every day and doing little things, obviously following the homework sheet. And yeah, like I said, like just one by one, things started to improve as I got to latter stages of the program.
And then just to really quickly to just reflect on what Yusuf just said there, was to say you were not weak. At no point like you do jujitsu.
Felt
Yeah, absolutely right. So like the thing you want to take away from that is because he's a particularly Yusuf's a particularly gifted athlete, right? Is it's just like, oh, when you change the variables and you expose what you suck at, it's like, oh crap, I can't do that. Now, part of what you did there that you won't recognize, right, is you followed the instructions properly. So there was a way in which you could have done those movements and cheated, and you would have been like, "What is this? This is easy. Like this isn't
yeah,
hard. I can stay the whole day. This is pointless. This is stupid, right?" Like you paid enough attention, really took in the details, and was like, "Oh no, I got to put my hip here, and I can't just brace my pelvis. I got to relax my pelvis, and then I got to use my upper core more, and then I got to breathe more through this." And when you did those things, it just was like you asked yourself to stabilize your pelvis in a way that you really sucked at, sort of things. But
yeah,
you're plenty strong. In fact, your strength is why you got the injury. You were using these like other compensations that you were really strong at and using your gifts to get away with it. And then, yeah, but like it was you paid attention to detail to like make sure that you actually exposed the weakness and kind of like went at it straight away and stuff like
yeah.
that. And sometimes that even makes things worse because it's like, oh, now you're not supporting yourself with the way you cheat. That often like can make your pain even worse at the beginning because it's like you're
It's
really,
going through,
but it's
yeah,
like,
your body,
oh, this is good. You're digging the cancer out. You're lancing the boil. It's like you gotta like,
yeah,
but yeah, it's funny because I'll talk to people and they'll be like, oh, thank God I found you, and I'll be like, yeah, I'm happy you found me too, but I like you were always gonna get better because it's like to me, it's the person's personality, it's their focus, it's their attention to detail. It's like, oh, there's other people in the world. You'd have found someone else. Maybe they won't specialize in OP, but you might have found a yoga teacher or even just like so you might have found some karate expert who like taught you some sort of karate way to connect to your body. You know what
yeah.
I mean? Yeah, there was always like people's personalities, and so like a big part of the reason I still do these, because like there's a million of them up there right now, is to just kind of get people to like understand. It's just like, oh no, no, you're the most important thing. Like exercises are just tools. You can pick lots of different tools to do it, but it's that thing to just be like, no, I need to ask questions about this. This doesn't make sense. Or like
Right.
doing this exercise and this doesn't agree with me. And I would always push you to be like, hey, if you think this thing is bullshit, you need to tell me so we can talk about it so you can understand why it's important. Because if you don't think it's important, then it's not going to work, kind of things.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like people's personality like determines the outcome more than anything. Because it was just like, oh yeah, like you did it in a way that made it hard, sort of things. When you could have cheated, you could have made it easy, like, and you wouldn't have noticed because you weren't paying enough attention to notice, kind of thing.
Yeah, I think with me, like I had sort of the concepts. Like I had the gun, I didn't have the ammo in a way. Like I knew that training functionally is the best way to do it. I knew that in isolation doesn't make you like a good athlete. Like you should, your movements and your body should operate in a functional sense where things are working together in conjunction, not in isolation. Like I knew all that stuff. I knew the concepts, but I didn't really know what that meant. I didn't know about fascial stability.
Mm.
I didn't know about like engaging the glutes and the core. Like I understood the concept, but I didn't know how to do it. And then when I started delving into your stuff, I feel like it answered a lot of questions that I had, but I didn't know even how to ask those questions. In if that makes sense.
Yeah, and it's like it's really interesting because like I get lots of different types of clients, but your type is one of the easiest type because it was just like it's like, oh no, no, you were already trying to do the right things. You just missing a few key pieces that kind of like,
To
yeah,
go in.
yeah, it's like you just kept getting stuck at the same dead end, and it was just like, oh no, no, just turn and take this left turn here, and then it's just like things. And so yeah, you had these like fundamental weaknesses that were missing, but you also had a lot of strength behind that that just needed just a little diverting to try to like get things. But you could always, and again, you could always tell when someone's getting better because it's just like, oh, you're like when I'm talking at you, it's not annoying. You're actually getting excited by the things I'm saying because you're like, oh, that's the piece I'm missing. I need this. Like,
Yeah,
I want this information. Well, I was like, God bless other people, right? It's just like they just want to get better, and I'm like yammering at them, trying to like explain something, and it's like I'm like, I don't want to do this to you. I don't want to bore your brains out, but you have to understand this if you want to get better. It's so much easier when someone's like, oh, actually, I really want to know this. I'm interested in this. I want to be a better athlete. I want to like use this after I finish training, after I finish getting better, so I can become an even better athlete by the end of it. It's like, oh, okay, that makes my life significantly easier because it's not like pushing a boulder up the hill sort of things. It's like, it's still a boulder, but it's like we're just pushing it on flat land. If we both push it together, it'll start rolling. And then once it's
yeah.
rolling, we're good kind of thing. But yeah, okay, so tell people about like, say, was there a point where you got to at some point during it where you just started to, things got hard and you got frustrated or things got difficult?
For me personally, the shoulder section I found quite difficult of your of the program, which something that I delved into later on. And the reason I found it quite difficult is I was very seasoned with doing things like the shoulder section focuses on push-ups and pull-ups. Those are two of the components of it. I was very well seasoned in these movements. I'd done them a lot. So to change those patterns, I found very, very difficult. So I can imagine for other people, they might feel that feeling in different parts of the program. They might feel that when they're doing stuff with their glutes or when they're doing stuff with their core. You can get it at any point, but it's about like really trying to focus on your body, really trying to take things slow. Like for me, I would just sit in my room and just do a push up very very slowly. And when I get to the point where I feel pain, I would pause. Okay, why am I feeling pain in this area? Try and take it slow, do it again, change the position ever so slightly. I'd watch your videos multiple times, and focus on the little details and things you're saying. And it's just like I said earlier, it's just about staying at it, and trying to be mindful of your body, trying to be mindful of the way you're moving, and why you're feeling pain.
So what you're describing right there, right, is like the heart of how people get better. That's so hard to get across to people, which is like you just had a conversation with your body. You were like, so first of all, anyone watching this, Yousef needs to do the shoulder section because he's doing jiu-jitsu and fighting. There's lots of people who won't do the shoulder section because like they're soccer players or they're runners or they're things like that. So that's why he was doing the shoulder section. That's why you need to focus on things like that. If you are not doing something like that, you won't necessarily have to do that because it won't be like there was shoulder stuff during the program, but the shoulder section is dedicated for more intense things if you're doing activities and stuff like that, right? But what you're describing there is you're just having a conversation with your body. You're going, I have the general principles, right? Like one of my videos will describe things in detail, but even though there's a lot of detail in there, that's still not enough detail for all the complexity of the human body. There's still so much I don't understand. So, but all you're doing is you're going, I've got the general outline of what I should be doing, right? Like I've got to get my elbows here. I need to feel the activation coming along the outside into my lats, into my serratus, into my pecs, sort of things. So you got the outline. So then you're going down there and you're just kind of going, and it's like you're the CEO on the top, just being like, oh, hey guys, that's not right. And then you're letting the factory workers downstairs just tell you more stuff. So you're just sitting in the position, and then the factory workers, right? Like your sensory receptors and stuff there, like it's pinching there, and then you're kind of like, okay, well, what if we go this way? And then they're like, no, that's worse. And then you're like, okay, what if we go? And then, okay, that feels better. All right. Then what if I go up and down a little bit through that? And then the factory works like, yeah, that works. And then you're like, okay, cool. And then as you keep doing it, it's like as a CEO, you're stepping back and you do more and more of it. And you're just letting the factory guys do their shit instead of being one of those micromanagers that comes in. And what I think people like really struggle with rehab sometimes is that crossover. It's like they can do it. They like the beginning exercises, right? Like get your core strong, get your glutes firing really hard. And it's like, okay, that's cool, but when you run, your glutes will fire at like 2%. You need them to fire at 2% every single step because otherwise you're really in trouble. But if they fire at 10%, that's too much and it's going to create another problem through there. And people are real good with the, yeah, make it fire, make it hard. And then they're real hard with the, okay, no, no, no. You just need to help your body find the right angle in that moment because it's
Yeah,
just getting confused and you're smarter than your body in a way. So you can go and teach it. But if you try to do it every time, you suck at that. Is your brain is too slow. It takes too long to think. Your reflexes, but you have to retrain those reflexes. And the best way to do it is to do what you described there, is to have a conversation with your body. And people will stop, restart the exercise, watch the video again, try to follow every step down. And it's trying to explain them like, you're top down, you're doing it, but you're not listening from the bottom up for what's happening, what's the response to what you're doing is. So you're just doing the same thing over and over again. And you're thinking, I just forgot one of the instructions Jason said or something like that. And it's like, no, 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 you just need to connect. And obviously, modern life does not encourage us to connect from our body. It encourages us to disconnect from our body and stuff like that.
yeah.
So yeah, if like I could just bottle what you're describing there, yeah, not even bottle it. If I could just put it in a syringe and shove it into people, like just hold them down and just be like,
Yeah,
no, you will be mindful. I will force this on you. My
yeah.
job would be so much easier because of it.
Another thing as well, and I think people should be very mindful of this, is watching your pain videos is very important because the relationship you have with your pain, especially if you've had your OP for a while, the relationship you have with your pain can get very complicated. And in your videos, obviously, you explain it way better than I will, but you explain that how to understand the feeling of pain because it's not necessarily always like you have to understand when you get pain, okay, why did that happen, and react to it in the correct way. So did you get pain in the moment, did you get it after the exercise, and all these little variables make a difference. And because you've had OP for such a long time that you're so used to getting pain in that area that you almost pre anticipate it, and that can get in your head a lot when you're doing the exercise. Like especially at the start there were a lot of points where I felt pain and it's like, how am I going to get around this? But it's kind of understanding and working around it and being able to be like understand when you get pain, when it's bad, and when it's okay, I should stop and just rest this for the day. And when you get pain and be like, okay, I kind of understand why that happened. Let me try it this way. Let me try it a different way, and just playing around with it. But the pain videos are super important.
Yeah, I can't stress that enough. And, like, so those two things you're describing there, having a conversation body, being mindful, understanding and like connecting to pain and understanding what it means. They're the two hardest things to get clients to actually dive into. Like anyone watching this, these are the two most important things because you've done rehab before, you've made your glutes strong before, you've made your core getting stronger. Like that's not the problem. But what you're describing there, like having progress, like so many times I hear these stories, like things were going great and then it fell apart. And it's like, oh, cool. The same thing's going to happen with me. Things are going to go great. It's when you get to that point where you get stuck. how do you get around that? So part of it, listening and talking to your body. So, and by doing that and understanding that pain isn't just this end all be all negative thing kind of things, and it's sometimes it's trying to tell you something. And so that
Yeah.
if you could have a conversation with your body and have a conversation with your pain, then you could kind of work around it and stuff like that. But it's so hard. People like it's hard to describe. You were fine. You were curious. You wanted to learn stuff like that. Pain's really complicated, right? And to be fair, like your pain was bad, but your pain was bad because you loved jujitsu, you loved soccer, you loved doing things. There are
Until
people like like there are people who would turn around and just say to you with OP, just stop doing those things. Like they'd just be like, just why do you have to do them, right? So for some people who can't walk or can't get out of bed or can't get things, for them when they have to like just the act of learning about pain is like anxiety provoking and stuff like that. But it's so hard, right? Because like anyone watching this, you've got to push through that. Like you have to read books about pain. What I've got videos on it, right? But that might not be enough. I might even recommend a book on top of that. And people won't really want to hear it. They just won't want to like, because it's too confronting, it's too difficult, it's too scary, it creates too much anxiety. Because even just thinking about pain will be so confronting for those people. But it's trying to like explain, it's just like, yeah, like like you and you have all the sympathy in the world because you just can't imagine how hard it must be for them. But at the same time, it's like if you don't do this, this thing will imprison you for the rest of your life. Like it's not going to get better. That pain will only get worse. Your world will become a smaller and smaller box as that goes through. And to me, it's just like what's there's some really great expression about knowledge is like a light that shines something on everything and stuff like that. I don't know what the you know that expression. Yeah, something about like knowledge being a light that like high like gets rid of all ghosts or something like that. Anyway, like knowledge can only empower you, right? Like information can only empower you. And so it's like, oh, pain, and especially if you're experiencing pain right now, whoever's watching this, and like and it's really bad, learn more about the nature of pain before you do anything else. Before you research more about OP, you spend another 2 hours in some Reddit hole reading about some obscure hip condition you think you might have, kind of things.
Yeah,
Go
yeah,
read a book about pain. Go read The Way Out. Go read Rewiring Pain. There's all these amazing books and just learn about the nature of pain because at the end of the day, that's the thing that's ruining your life. It's pain. You should know what pain
yeah.
is and how it works and stuff, and then try to fix the cause of your pain, kind of things. But yeah, no, you're like dead on, like such good advice. I might even just cut this and put this as part of the program. 'Cause, like people won't listen to me, but maybe they'll listen to someone who's already been through it, kind of thing.
Yeah, maybe. But yeah, it's super important. You're understanding the messages your body is sending to you because that's all it is, right? It's just you're getting your body sending you a message being like, "Oh, that bad."
Yeah, pretty much as simple as that. Okay,
Yeah.
any last pieces of advice or anything else that you'd want to tell anything about anyone about their OP or about the program or anything else?
Yeah, at the start, it's going to be confusing. I mean, if you decide to go through the program with Jason, like there's going to be a lot of things he's explaining at the start that you might not understand. And don't try to overcomplicate and don't try to learn everything at once. There's a lot of content and there's a lot of videos and a lot of stuff to watch. And you can get lost just watching, like trying to consume all the information all at once, which is what I did. And I would recommend just keeping it simple and just taking it step by step. Like I said, if you do the program, you will go through sort of steps and you will go through stages where you will be doing exercise after exercise, and just try and keep it basic. Try and consume as much as is possible without overloading yourself, and just try and take it step by step. And if you're really committed and you're really willing to learn and willing to get better, I genuinely think you will improve very quickly. So for me personally, I said I my journey with OP started in December. I was back fully training in April, and actually I took my time with it. I could have been, I probably was ready to go back in March, but I was very patient and I really took my time, and I fully started training again in April, and now we're in June, and I was just telling Jason, like I've been training more consistently and improving more rapid than I was before. I actually came back stronger after my OP. So what I would say is just try and take it step by step if you do the program, and you will progressively see improvement if you keep going at it, no question.
Awesome. Thank you so much for doing this. And yeah, anyone watching this, I hope you can take a lot from it. But yeah, thank you so much, Yusuf.
Thanks, man.